Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Dom, and today we're going to be talking about truthy and falsy values in JavaScript. This topic definitely confused me when I first started learning JavaScript, so if you're in the same position, I hope this video can help you out. And it really isn't even that difficult, so something has to be either truthy or falsy in JavaScript, and it's going to be much easier to explain this using code. The best way to explain this concept is going to be to simply show you a list of all possible falsy values in JavaScript because everything else is considered to be truthy, alright? So right here we have our 9 possible falsy values in JavaScript, okay? So all of these 9 values here share a common trait where they all relate to things being, not provided or empty or things like that. So things like false, 0, -0, empty string, null, undefined. They all share a emptiness, in terms of what they sort of express. All right. Now things like an empty array or an empty object, those are actually considered to be truthy. Okay, so don't get that confused. I know I did quite a few times. Now, what does this mean? And what's the point in differentiating between falsy and truthy? Well, all falsy values are going to be considered false in a Boolean context. Okay, so if you're using an if statement, okay, and you provide a falsy value, that can simply just be false. That's how you should think about it. So as an example here, if I do something like if and I say 0, so of course 0 is in this list of falsy values. So if 0, this code here is never going to run. So this is simply going to evaluate to be false. It's really that simple, guys. If you provide a value that is not in this list here, let's say we say 1 or 2 or, a string of data like this or an empty array, all of these things are truthy, which means the code here is going to run. So that's literally all it is when it comes to the explanation as to what's truthy and what's falsy and why it matters. Now, I do want to show you some real life scenarios where this concept of truthy versus falsy is actually going to matter. Okay, so let's have a quick look at an example here. Let's say you're using an API to get a user's information, or it comes from some sort of database, okay? You might say something like this. You might say const name is equal to, then say data.name. Of course, data is some object from somewhere else, an API call, AJAX request, whatever it might be. Then you're saying, look, if there is no name provided, we're going to say or, and then say unknown user as the default name. So we can see here by using this or, we're giving this a Boolean context. It's going to be this or this, okay? Now, data.name, when using or, if this side, the left side of this operator, if that's falsy, then it's going to default to be unknown user as a string, okay? So that's what your or is doing. It's not checking if it's false or if it's checking if it's, empty string. It's checking if this data.name is any one of these values, okay? In this case here, it's not going to matter too much, all right? Because most likely, if the name's an empty string, you're going to default. If it's null, undefined, it's going to default. It's a problem though when dealing with numerics, okay? Let's say you have something like, let's just do score. So someone's score for a game. You might say player1 score equal to data.score or give them a default of 5, okay? You probably guess where I'm going here. If the score is a legitimate 0, then it's going to default to 5. That's not good, obviously. So sometimes you don't want to use this or, especially when your left side is a falsy value, but it might be a valid falsy value, okay? Now, there is a really interesting JavaScript operator which sort of solves this problem, okay? In many scenarios, that's going to be the nullish coalescing operator. So replace your double pipes here, your or, with question mark, question mark. Now, this does not use a falsy check. It checks for null or undefined. So now, only if data.score is null or undefined, then it's going to go to 5. Otherwise, it'll keep your valid score of 0. Okay, so a scenario like this is definitely crucial, to sort of understand the falsy versus truthy concept in JavaScript. And that is all for today's video, guys. Hope this one helped you out. If it did, drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.